The research that informed the lab found that within the year prior to an intimate partner homicide, more than 44% of abusers were arrested and almost a third of victims had contacted the police. Alternatively, only 4% of abused victims had used a hotline or shelter in the year prior to being killed by an intimate partner. This statistic shows that victims who are in the greatest danger are often not self-initiating contact with domestic violence-specific resources. Building on the research of Dr. Jacqueline Campbell of Johns Hopkins University, in the early 2000s, the Maryland Network Against Domestic Violence began conducting extensive multidisciplinary research and field testing. After several years, in 2005, the lethality screen and accompanying referral protocol, together known as the LAP, was rolled out in Maryland. One study conducted by Dr. Campbell found that almost half of intimate partner homicide victims studied were not able to accurately recognize their risk for fatal violence prior to their death. The LAP provides a brief yet effective opportunity to identify lethality risk alongside a victim and inform them about safety strategies while linking them immediately to help. At the time of creating this video, jurisdictions in at least 37 states across the country are utilizing the LAP protocol. In Wisconsin, over 120 law enforcement agencies are trained in the LAP. End Domestic Abuse Wisconsin has a memorandum of understanding with the Maryland Network Against Domestic Violence, enabling us to provide training and assistance to Wisconsin communities regarding the LAP. We appreciate the partnership and support of the Wisconsin Department of Justice in this effort. Statewide, we've seen 39 intimate partner-related deaths on average annually since we began tracking this figure at End Domestic Abuse Wisconsin. The FBI reports that in the U.S. in 2016 alone, 962 women were murdered at the hands of a current or former intimate partner. In Maryland, between 2008 and 2013, they experienced a 32% decline in their domestic violence homicide rate after statewide implementation of the LAP. While not directly attributable to participation in the LAP, it undoubtedly was a contributing factor, and we hope to replicate that success in Wisconsin. The process begins when an officer arrives at the scene of a call for service. Once the scene is secure and the investigation of the incident is complete, the officer asks the victim the 11 questions on the lethality screen, which is the first component of the LAP. The LAP is not intended to be used in domestic abuse situations that fall under Wisconsin state statute but are non-intimate partners, such as situations involving roommates or siblings. Conversely, we advise that the LAP is used with intimate partners that have never lived together and don't have a child in common. Thus, the call for service does not necessarily need to be domestic for the LAP protocol to be activated by an officer. Upon completion of the lethality screen, the officer utilizes a corresponding referral protocol based on the dangerousness of the situation assessed. The second and equally important part of the LAP is the real-time connection for high-risk victims to services that could prove to be life-saving. The hotline advocate will engage in a structured conversation with the goal of conducting brief safety planning and engaging the victim in further services. The entire LAP protocol, from start to finish, should take approximately 10 minutes. Please watch the following demonstration of an officer assessing a victim utilizing the LAP screen.
Jackie, I have a few questions that I'd like to ask you to help me better understand your situation. Has he ever used a weapon against you or threatened you with a weapon?
Yes.
Has he threatened to kill you or your children?
Yes, and it's becoming more frequent lately. I believe he may do it.
Do you think he might try to kill you?
I don't know. He is very violent. He might, yeah.
Does he have a gun or can he get one easily?
Yeah, there's one in the bedroom.
Has he ever tried to choke you or strangle you?
Yeah, about a week ago, and I almost passed out.
Is he violently or constantly jealous, or does he control most of your daily activities?
No.
Have you left him or separated after living together or being married?
No, definitely not. I think he would track me down then and kill me for sure.
Is he unemployed?
Yeah, for about 2 months now.
Has he ever tried to kill himself?
No.
Do you have a child that he knows is not his?
Yeah, 2.
Does he follow or spy on you or leave you threatening messages?
No.
Jackie, based off your answers, you're in serious danger. People in your situation have been killed. What I would like to do now is call domestic violence advocate, tell them what I found, and see what they have to say. And then I would like for you to speak with the advocate. What do you think?
I don't know if I want to do that.
Jackie, you're in serious danger. I would like to call the advocate, tell them what I found so that they can suggest ways that I can better help you. You don't have to talk with them, but I'd like you to think about it while I'm on the phone, okay? Hi, yes, this is Corporal Luzinski with the Cudahy Police Department. I'm out at a domestic violence incident. Jackie, would you mind talking with the advocate? You're just talking, that's all.
Okay. Hello.
Let's review how to process a lap screen. Your responses to these questions indicate that you are in high danger. I know this may be scary to hear, but people in similar situations have been killed, and I'm concerned for your safety, and I'd like to call an advocate and tell them what I've found. Would you be interested in speaking with them? If the victim agrees to speak with an advocate, summarize the incident for the advocate who answers the phone. Tell them which questions the victim answered yes to. Hand victim your phone for a brief safety planning conversation. This should take approximately 10 minutes. Be sure to praise, validate, and normalize the victim's trauma reactions and feelings. Remember, there is a LAP-specific safety planning checklist and safety planning considerations materials available to you. If the victim disagrees to speak with the advocate, discuss immediate safety planning strategies with the advocate to convey to victim. Reiterate the danger of the situation and share safety planning strategies with the victim. Ask the victim for permission for an advocate to follow up the next day and obtain safety contact information. There are times when the victim's answers do not indicate that the victim is in high danger or the victim is unable or declines to answer the questions. Advise of the dangerousness of the situation. Advise what to watch for the signs of danger. Refer to domestic violence program. Provide them with your contact information and then prepare your report. The LAP key points. Be compassionate. Remember, it is important to be aware of how victims may have been impacted by the trauma. The officers and advocates responding must be sure to show compassion. Go the extra mile. Be reassuring, listening to establish trust. Acknowledge how difficult it can be to speak to you or an advocate about the situation, explaining that it is not their fault. Coordinated efforts. Officers and advocates want to make a coordinated effort to express concerns about the outcomes in these dangerous situations for victims and children's well-being. Use language such as the way you answered this question makes me very concerned for your safety. One key piece is making the connections to the domestic violence programs. By using the empowerment approach, inform victims of the program services and that the program will support the victim no matter what choice they make. Overall, be aware of the dangers in all domestic violence. Thanks for taking the time to view this video. Now it's time to take the next step in implementing the LAP.
I'm Tim Wacker from the City of Watertown Police Department. We implemented LAP in February of 2017, and since then our advocacy group and our police department have become much more of a team. It's really been helpful for the officers to just learn exactly what resources are offered by our advocacy group. Also, we've heard frequently in the past from victims after talking to them after the lethality assessment that it was the first time that they felt that the cop wasn't acting like a cop and they felt like it was that they actually cared. about what the answers to their questions were.